Human beings have always asked the same silent question. Why do we suffer? Pain is older than memory. It shaped our ancestors, carved our decisions, and still follows us through every stage of life. We try to numb it, avoid it, outgrow it. But suffering always returns, sometimes quietly, sometimes violently. This video is not about escaping pain. It is about understanding it, because only what we understand can transform us. 1. We suffer because we resist reality. Most human suffering does not come from what happens, but from our refusal to accept what happens. A broken expectation hurts more than a broken moment. Ancient philosophers noticed this long before psychology did. The Stoics taught that pain becomes suffering the moment we say, "This should not be happening to me." Reality is neutral. Our resistance gives it teeth. When we fight the world as it is, the world always wins. But when we stop resisting, the mind begins to breathe again. 2. We suffer because we attach ourselves too deeply. Humans cling to people, to outcomes, to identities, to an image of how life should unfold. And every attachment carries a shadow, the fear of losing it. Buddhist thinkers understood this perfectly. The tighter we hold, the more it hurts when life inevitably changes. Nothing in life is fully ours. We only borrow everything we love. Suffering grows where attachment becomes possession. But freedom grows when we learn to hold things gently. 3. We suffer because we try to control what is uncontrollable. In a chaotic world, control feels like safety, so we chase it. Overthinking, planning, worrying, predicting. But the more we try to control everything, the more helpless we feel. The truth is simple, but uncomfortable. We only control our choices, not their outcomes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When we release the need to control the world, we finally gain control over ourselves. This is the beginning of inner freedom. 4. We suffer because we live in illusions about ourselves. One of the deepest sources of suffering is not the world around us, but the stories we tell inside our own minds. Stories like, "I must always be strong. I cannot fail. I must be who others expect me to be." When our identity becomes a mask, life becomes a prison. Philosophers across cultures taught the same truth. Self-deception is the heaviest form of pain. Real peace begins the moment we stop pretending. Authenticity is not comfort. Authenticity is clarity. 5. We suffer because we refuse to grow. Growth requires discomfort. Transformation requires friction. Healing requires breaking and rebuilding. But many people would rather repeat the same painful patterns than face the temporary pain of change. Pain that we avoid becomes suffering. Pain that we confront becomes evolution. This is the paradox. What hurts us is often what shapes us. Suffering is not a curse, it is a teacher, but only if we listen. 6. We suffer because we are afraid of loss, of uncertainty, of ourselves. Fear amplifies pain and turns small worries into storms. The fear of suffering often creates more suffering than the suffering itself. Psychology calls this anticipatory anxiety. Philosophy calls it living in the future. Both point to the same truth. Fear is a story we tell before anything happens. When we stop living in imagined catastrophes, the present moment becomes bearable and sometimes even peaceful. 7. We suffer because we search for meaning in the wrong places. Modern life tells us that meaning can be found in success, attention, achievement, pleasure. But these are temporary. They collapse under the weight of real pain. Across centuries, philosophers understood, meaning is not found in what we gain. Meaning is found in what we become. Suffering forces us to meet ourselves honestly, to discover our endurance, our character, our strength. Pain reveals the parts of us that comfort keeps hidden. This is why many philosophies agree. Suffering is not the opposite of meaning, it is the doorway to it. 8. Conclusion. The quiet truth of human suffering. We suffer because we are alive, because we care, because we hope, because life in all its beauty is also fragile and unpredictable. But suffering is not the end of the story. It is the path that shapes us. Understanding suffering is the first step toward transcending it. And the moment we stop running from pain and begin listening to it, something changes. We do not become invulnerable. We become wiser. And sometimes wisdom is the closest thing to peace.